And welcome to the Sportscast, February 21st, 2019. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, and iTunes. And if you are on iTunes, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. And also check us out at thesportscast.net with all the news, stats, podcasts, all the information you need to see. Breaking news, Syracuse coach legend Jim Boeheim struck and killed a man with his car on Wednesday around midnight. According to a Syracuse.com report, a man in his 30s got out of his car after an accident on Interstate 690 in Syracuse. A source told the outlet when Boeheim drove by and hit the pedestrian. The 74-year-old coach, who was cooperating with authorities, reported the accident to police. That's good. And Syracuse beat Louisville 69-49. So that is the breaking news. But to join us to talk to us a little bit beyond college basketball, Mr. Tyler Turner, welcome back.
Welcome back, man. How you doing?
Good. Yeah. So a little incident last night. A little bit of college basketball. Did you watch any sports? Any sports last night?
Yeah, I watched the UNC game. Yep, UNC Duke game.
Yeah, it was a very good game. Obviously, the tickets were at Super Bowl level prices, and Bazine got injured in the first minute. Yeah,
it was crazy. Obviously, Duke had a tough game because of it.
Yeah, which UNC defeated Duke 88-72. Obviously, college basketball is forming up, getting ready for the March Madness coming up next month. And, of course, I believe Zion Williamson had a mild knee sprain, and things are kind of we'll see where that happens. But let's get into college football, Tyler's favorite expertise in. And, obviously the whole recruiting signing day has just passed, and we'll have Tyler to discuss what teams and conferences are recruiting at the highest level.
Yep. Let's rock it out.
Let's start. Go for it.
Okay. To go off of kind of what we've been talking about, we've been breaking down kind of the metrics behind it all. In general. So just some questions you could ask is what teams and conferences are recruiting at the highest level over the past 5 years? Because remember, in each class you have roughly 4 to 5 years worth of guys. Class from like 2015 through 2019 will be making up the rosters in 2019. Once in a great while, you might have a guy that's in his 6th year from class 2014. It's very rare. And in 2015, 2016, you obviously have more guys that maybe have already graduated, played 4 straight years. There's also the grad transfer route that's been a lot more applicable in recent years that have guys leave teams. So attrition from that 2015, 2016 class is more applicable there due to early NFL draft entries, graduations for the 2015 class, grad transfers for 2015 or 2016. So those 2 years in general, you're going to, it's like, cause I was going through every single roster. It took me forever. I wrote 3, if people haven't read it, I wrote 3 articles, I think so far, probably going to write a couple more on basically recruiting, how recruiting's going for, college football. I came up with the numbers that came up with my top 25 teams. And just to go over those numbers, top 25 for recruiting average is number 1, Alabama, number 2, Georgia, number 3, Ohio State, number 4, LSU, number 5, USC, number 6, Florida State, number 7, Texas, number 8, Oklahoma, number 9, Auburn, number 10, Clemson, number 11, Texas A&M, number 12, Notre Dame, number 13, Florida, number 14, Penn State, number 15, Michigan, number 16, number 17, Oregon, number 18, Miami, number 19, South Carolina, number 20, Washington, number 21, UCLA, 22, Nebraska, 23, Stanford, 24, Ole Miss, and number 25, Mississippi State. That is the top 25 average for 5 years. How I came up with it was I took the mean of 2015, 2016, because when I went through most rosters, there was so many guys gone already from the 2015 and even 2016. Probably could have put more weight on the 2016 class, but I decided to just do the mean. So what I mean by the mean is, like, let's say, for instance, Oregon. Let's go with Oregon. It's my team. It's one I know the roster the most. They had the number 16 class in 2015. They had the number 27 class in 2016. I did the average. So I did 27 plus 16 divided by 2, which is 21. 21.5 was the average of those two classes. And then I took, as is, the 2017, 2018, 2019 class. So in Oregon's case, it was 21.5 plus number 19 plus number 13 plus number 7, and then I divided that by 4. And that's where Oregon came out as number 17 team as far as a 4-year average. So that was kind of the first breakdown of how I did it. To move into the second one, I did the number of blue chippers on each roster. Blue chip talent is blue chippers. Now, I didn't do blue chippers as a whole, so that's not completely
What is
accurate.
a blue chipper for the audience that don't know what a blue chipper is?
Blue chipper is 4 and 5 stars. So if you have a 4 or 5 star rating and all of these ratings I went off of the 247 composite. The 247 composite combines the rankings of ESPN, Rivals, and 247 and comes up with an average ranking. So a blue chipper is a 4 or 5 star. But actually, for my metrics, because that was going to take way too much time, I just did the top 100 players on each roster. And I also took the number of 5 stars on each roster. So a 5-star, usually you have per class, like for instance, in the 2019 class, there was 35 composite 5 stars. It ranges, like I think it was 2017, there was 30. So, but on average, there's 30 or 35 5-star prospects. A 5-star prospect is someone that's projected to be an All-American. It's someone projected to be a 3-4 year starter. It's someone projected to go in the early rounds of the NFL draft. A 5-star is considered by recruiting experts as an elite prospect. I then decided to move my metric a little bit more to the top 100. So that is the 35 blue chippers, 35, let's say, and then another 65 high-end 4 stars. Usually 4 stars. When I went to 100, it normally was a rating of about 96 to about 97. High-end 4-star would be someone that's not quite a 5-star, but still is considered someone that is a very good prospect, someone that probably will be a 3-4 year starter, someone that could be an All-American, someone that could be a high-round draft pick. I felt like that metric for what I was going for in the amount of time I wanted to go for would give me a pretty accurate measurement of where the talent lies on each roster in the top 25. I could have gone a little farther and done all blue chippers, meaning all 4 or 5 stars, but that would take an immense amount of time. It took enough time doing it the way I did it. And just to break down, like, for instance, sorry, I'm looking at this as I'm doing it. If you want to know where the 5 stars fall. So the 5 stars, let me get this up here. Where did I have this?
Hold
on a second.
Let me read the conferences that you've written out for the blue chippers top 100.
5 stars. I found the 5 stars.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And then I'll go with conferences. Okay. So 5 stars on the roster. The number 1 team with the most 5 stars is Georgia. They have 14 5 stars on the roster for this upcoming season. Number 2, Ohio State. They have 13 5 stars that are going to be on their team in this upcoming year. Number 3, Alabama. They have 12 5 stars that are going to be on their team. Number 4 was a tie between LSU and Clemson. They both have 7 5 stars. Number 5 was Oklahoma, USC, and Florida State. They all have 5 stars. Number 6 was Texas, Michigan, and Penn State. They have 4 5 stars. Number 7 was Auburn, Tennessee, Stanford, and UCLA. They have 3 5 stars. Number 8 was Texas A&M and Ole Miss. They have 2 5-stars. And then Notre Dame, Oregon, Washington, Miami, South Carolina, and Mississippi State have 1 5-star on the roster. Nebraska and Florida were the only 2 teams in my top 25 that did not have a 5-star. So that's the ones with the 5-star. Now, if I was going to go to the top 100 thing, and I don't know why I didn't have this all on the same page, but that's fine.
It's okay.
It's getting a little different. Okay, so top 100 players. So that's top 100. This is including top 100 4-stars and 5-stars. Alabama leads the way with 34. Ohio State has 31. Georgia has 27. LSU has 19. Then you have USC, who has 18. Number 6, Florida State and Texas both have 17. Clemson has 15. Oklahoma has 14. Penn State has 13. Texas A&M, Tennessee, Florida, and Notre Dame have 12. Top 100 players. Michigan, Auburn, and Oregon all have 10. Those are the ones with double-digit top 100 players. And then after that, you have Miami having 9. Stanford having 7. Mississippi State, UCLA, and Washington all have 6. South Carolina and Ole Miss have 3, and little old Nebraska sitting there with 2. So let's just take Alabama to make it a little more like easy to understand. Alabama, you have the number 1 ranked recruiting average over a 5-year period. You have 34 top 100 players, which is first, most top 100 players on any roster in college football, and you have 12 5-stars, which is number 3. So basically, Alabama's roster is absolutely just ridiculously talented. Honestly, they are then that would go to my last. So I might as well bring in my last thing. And so then what I ultimately did at this point was I did a metric where I did number 1. So if you had the number 1 recruiting average, you got the most points. So it went from 25 to 1. So whatever team had the highest average got the full amount of points. So in this case, Alabama got 25. Then I added that with 5-stars times 5. So if you had 12 5-stars like Alabama, I times it by 5. They got 60 points because of their 5-star. Then I added that with the amount of top 100 4-stars. So they had 22 top 100 4-stars. I times that by 4. I added it together. And sorry, man, I have trouble I get over wordy. Okay, so it's 25 plus 60 plus 4 times 22, which is the 22 top 100 4-stars, which equals 88. So it's 25 plus 60 plus 88. And then I deducted any transfers that were blue chippers. So blue chippers meaning 4 or 5-star guys that transferred. If you had them transfer out, you lost a point. If you had them transfer into your school, you got added a point. In Alabama's case, it was 2 transfers out, no transfers in. So what ended up coming up with that was 171 points for Alabama. They were unquestionably the most talented team per my metric. And if you go to 247 actually does a team talent composite. So actually, 244 has a team talent composite every single year that they do. They do it with the roster. It's not exactly as I do it. They actually use every single player on the roster. Their metrics going about it is a little bit confusing in and of itself. But basically, your highest rated player gets the most points. And then every player after that goes down a little value. But obviously, the more higher rated players, the higher your point value is going to be. Alabama was number 1 for team talent composite in 2015, in 2016, and 2017. In 2018, they actually were number 2 to Ohio State.
Wow.
But I have a feeling, as long as they don't have attrition, that they will be number 1 again for 2019. For my metrics, they're number 1. Let's see how the team talent composite comes out. Number 2 is Ohio State with 157 points. A very talented roster. I mean, anytime you have 31 top 100 players, 13 blue chippers. Ohio State is a tremendous. Urban Meyer might have left, but he left a cupboard full of amazing talent for Ryan Day. Number 3, Kirby Smart. He's done a ridiculous job recruiting. It's a great place to recruit. Georgia's one of the best hotbeds for recruiting. He has the 3rd best talent. He actually has the most 4-stars on his roster in comparison to anyone else in college football, even Alabama. He has 142 points. Basically, Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, those 3 are at a different level when it comes to recruiting. So you had Alabama 171 points, you had Ohio State 157, and you have Georgia at 142. There is a pretty big drop off between them and everyone else. Number 4 is LSU, but they are 37 points lower than Georgia. Most of the reason for that is Georgia has 14 5-stars, LSU has 7. So that's almost twice the number of 5-stars. But anyway, LSU comes in at 4. Believe it or not, USC, and they've been unpredictable.
That's one team that really sticks out for me.
Well, it's because of they've had some ridiculous recruiting classes. Ridiculous recruiting. I mean, they had the number 10 ranked class in 2016. They had the number 4 ranked class in 2017, number 4 in 2018. If you want to go back to number 2015, they had the number 2 ranked class, and some of those guys are still on the roster. And despite having a lot of transfers, they have lost from the 2016-2017 class. They lost 10 of the 20 top blue chippers on the roster, including 3 5-stars. Despite all that, USC still checks in at number 5.
And then after them, Florida State at 6. That's even weirder.
Yep. Well, it's not really weird. Go look at the recruiting rankings over the years.
Yeah.
Florida State was number 3 in 2016. They were number 3 in 2017. Last 2 years, number 11 in 2018 to number 18 2000. Both of them are not, when I went through their thing, when I went through USC and Florida State's roster, loaded in 2015, loaded 2016, loaded 2017. It's a significant drop-off in 2018, 2019. I'm going to tell you right now, if they keep on losing on the recruiting trail like they are the last 2 years, USC for the last year, Florida State for the last 2 years, their performance is only going to get worse. Because you see how they're doing with all the talent on the roster.
Right.
They didn't have very good years. Neither one made a bowl game. So if they start losing talent, so I'm going to make a prediction right now. If Clay Helton for USC and Willie Taggart for Florida State do not have good years this year, they're going to be fired. Because to squander the number 5 and number 6 most talented rosters in college football, it's travesty. So, anyway, Texas is number 7, and Texas is a team that, when I look at the roster, they are getting better. They had dropped off in recruiting, even in Tom Herman's first season right after he got hired. They ended up with a number 26 ranked class, but the last 2 years, number 3 ranked classes, 2 years in a row. They've signed a couple significant 5-stars, several top 100 players. They check in at number 7. Tom Herman's doing a good job, and I heard he's off to a pretty good start this year. So look for Texas to be pretty talented in the near future. Number 8 was Clemson. Clemson's average is a little bit odd, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
you go back and see Clemson.
Higher.
Well, because, they only had a number 16th ranked class in 2017. They only signed 14 guys.
That did it.
And this year, they signed a lot of guys and finished with a number 10 ranked class. And actually, they had more 3-stars than they had blue chippers. And they lost a lot. Clemson actually lost 13 blue chip guys from this year's team, including 3 5-stars and 3 other top 100 players. So a total of 6 top 100 guys. Clemson's going to take a little step back as far as talent. Now, that being said, you have one of the most experienced coaching staffs in college football. They also, I think, have the best quarterback in college football, which is the most important position. So I think Clemson will be fine. I do wonder, defensively, they lose a lot of talent. Offensively, not as much. They have 5 stars at the wide receiver position. They obviously have 5 stars at the quarterback position. They have top 100 guys at the running back position. They even have 5 stars on the offensive line. Defense, when I look at the roster, they lose a little bit of talent. And they didn't necessarily replace it with equal talent. I'm telling you right now, if Clemson doesn't win the national title this year, I would not be surprised. I think a lot of people are going to put them number 1 because they won it last year. Trevor Lawrence and all his terrific receivers come back, but they do drop off talent-wise. And their roster is not as talented as an Alabama, Ohio State, or Georgia. It's not. It's not even that
Which
close.
usually like the SEC gets like the best defenses, right?
You mean most talent?
Yeah, most talent-wise.
Well, as a whole, and I'll get into that when I at the end here. But if I was going to go, it's not even close. Like SEC is the most talented roster.
Okay.
Like hands down, top to bottom, SEC is like. I'll show you in a second. Number 9 is Oklahoma. Oklahoma is extremely talented on the offensive side of the ball, and they have gotten better every year. Just so you know, per the team talent composite by 247, Oklahoma has made the college football playoff 3 of the last 4 years. They have won 4 straight Big 12 titles. Guess what? They have never had a top 10 talent team.
Wow.
I actually think it's going to change this year. I actually think their team will land in the top 10. So if Lincoln Riley has been able to make 3 of the last 4 college football playoffs, one was as a offensive coordinator, but he's been able to do that with teams with not top 10 talent. If Jalen Hurts can play up to the level of Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield, if he's able to do that with less talent, I think he'll be able to do that with more talent. So don't look for Oklahoma to go anywhere soon, okay? Keep an eye on them.
I will.
So there's there. Then there's a little bit of a drop-off. There's like Oklahoma. Okay, so you have Ohio State, Georgia, and LSU. They're like way, way up there, okay? So they're like, sorry. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, way up and ahead of everyone else. Then you kind of have that cluster of LSU, USC, Florida State, Texas, Clemson, and Oklahoma. They're kind of close to each other. Then you have a little bit of a drop-off. But these teams are like so close. Like if you look at the points, they're almost identical. Texas A&M, Penn State, Notre Dame, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee. Like and even you could put Michigan, Oregon, Miami pretty close to there. Actually, those teams are all pretty close talent-wise. There's not a big difference. You look at the rosters, a couple more 5 stars maybe on one, pretty equal on the top 100 talent, all in that 10 to 13 range, 10 to 13 range, all with a couple 5 stars on some rosters, maybe more so than in others, but very closely congested talent-wise. I have A&M 10, Penn State 11, Notre Dame 12, Florida 13, Auburn 14, Tennessee 15, Michigan 16, Oregon 17, Miami 18.
Woo!
And Miami makes it. Yeah, and actually, Miami. A big thing that happened with Miami was the transfers of 4 stars. The transfers of 4 stars boosted them up 4 points because actually the recruiting average was a little lower than the rest. But the transfers, they have to be taken in. Those guys are 4-star transfers.
I hope Miami pumps in more good recruits there.
Yeah, if you can get another good recruiting class with those transfers and a good recruiting class by Miami in 2018 and 2017, I'll look for Miami to have more talent than anyone in the ACC outside of Clemson and Florida State.
Yeah.
And then kind of to round it out, there was definitely kind of a bump off. Stanford, Washington, UCLA were 3 in a row, 3 Pac-10 teams in a row. And then you had Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Ole Miss. Those are 3 SEC teams in a row. And then Nebraska, and Nebraska was the one team on here that definitely is missing big-time talent. They have no 5 stars. They have only 2 top 100 4 stars. So Nebraska is definitely a step below. Ole Miss is in South Carolina. Their rosters are a little below everyone else. I think it was 3 top 100 guys. Mississippi State, UCLA, Stanford, Washington were all very similar in that 6-7 range for top 100 talent. Stanford and UCLA have more 5 stars. They both have 3. but Washington actually has 42 blue chippers on the roster. So I'd look for Washington. When they do the team talent, I would look for Washington to land ahead of Stanford and UCLA because top to bottom, their roster is a little more consistent with talent. And also Washington has almost had no attrition. Attrition meaning hardly anyone is transferred out of Washington. And so that's a testament of Chris Peterson's ability to develop talent, keep them on the roster.
There, yeah.
And his 2015, 2016 classes where, like, for instance, Alabama almost has no players from 2015 on the roster.
Yeah.
They've either transferred or gone pro. Well, Washington, they have actually a lot of fifth-year seniors. They have a lot of true seniors. They have a lot of fourth-year juniors.
Yeah. I guess like the higher the team you are, like the more turnovers you get.
Yeah, more turnover. I mean, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia have crazy turnover.
Yeah.
But does that really matter? When you're, like, you have a guy walking out that's a 5-star, and it's like, oh, that sucks. He's amazing. And who's taking his place? Another 5-star. Yeah. So, yeah, he's not as experienced, but he's super talented.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what you're seeing with the top ones. From what I see, I'm going to kind of, and then I'm going to go down there, I'm going to go conference to conference,
Yeah.
but I'm going to tell you which teams to expect maybe a little bit of downturn because talent has been lost, and which teams to expect a little better. Which teams are going to be better, which teams are not going to be as good. Alabama will continue to be good. I'm telling you right now, they lost a lot of guys to the NFL draft. They lost half their coaching staff. But let me give you a spoiler alert, Santiago. Alabama will be very good this year.
They'll be okay.
They will not, unless they get upset, they're going to be beating everyone. I would put, I don't bet, but if I put money, I'd say there's a high likelihood they're not only in the college football playoffs, but there's a good chance that they win it. And honestly, it's amazing what Clemson has done because Clemson's not as talented. Clemson rosters have not been as talented as Alabama, but it tells you what a good coaching staff, keeping players around, and good development does. But Alabama's going to be good. Expect Ryan Day to have a very good team, not just because he has the second most talented roster, but because the Big Ten doesn't have near as much talent. So if you want to talk conferences, even though Alabama's conference is way talented, there is a lot of talented teams in the SEC.
Like Mississippi State.
Of the top 15, 7 are SEC.
Yep.
So of the top 15, 7 of the most talented rosters are in the SEC. So, but that being said, Ohio State's just way more talented than everyone else. I would expect them, especially with getting Justin Fields, consensus 5-star, for them to continue to be very good. Number 3, Georgia. Georgia's recruiting at a very high level. I mean, he's recruiting amazing. Now, that being said, he blew the national championship game the one year. He blew the SEC final last year. They didn't play well in the bowl game against Texas. If another bad year, not a bad year. He had a good year, but another year where they fall short of expectations. People start saying, "Hey, Kirby Smart, you're recruiting better than everyone except for maybe Alabama." And you're not winning the national title, he starts getting questioned for that. He has the talent on the roster to beat Alabama. He has more 5-stars on his roster.
Yeah, Woods, they came close this past
and
SEC championship.
The reason why they can is Georgia's the one team that is close.
Oh, yeah.
Alabama's a little bit more, but it's close. LSU could always recruit to a high level. They're sitting there at number 4. You know what? It's another thing. If Ed Orgeron has like an 8-4 year, and you see, he's 9-4 in his first year. He was 10-3 in his second year. Let's say hypothetically he's 8-5 next year. If people start calling maybe Ed Orgeron's not the right guy, it's fair because look at the roster. Now the thing is, they do play Alabama and they do play Georgia, and those teams do have a little more talented rosters. So it makes it kind of tough. If LSU was in the Pac-12, they'd probably win the Pac-12. If they were in the Big Ten, with Ohio State, they'd be competing. if they were in the Big 12, they might be winning the Big 12. So it's kind of a bad thing that they're in a tough conference, but it is what it is. USC, Clay Helton doesn't have a good year, he gets fired. I mean, come on. You have the 5th most talented roster in college football. You have by far the most talented roster in the Pac-12. You should be winning the Pac-12. You should be playing in New Year's Six Bowls every year. You should be competing for the college football playoff. Finishing 5-7 is a fireable offense. When you look at this, why they didn't fire him? Then last year they finished with a number 20 ranked recruiting class. You're having a bad attrition issues. The culture's bad. Clay Helton, I don't know why he's not fired. I don't. It doesn't explain. They're losing talent. Another bad recruiting class. They will be dropping in these recruiting rankings. So there's another one. Same with Florida State. Those are two teams that right now have the talent to compete for conference titles, to play for college football playoffs, but they are not doing it. They're actually starting to not get as much talent. Those are two programs. Those coaches have to be on the hot seat. Okay, Texas and Oklahoma, they are recruiting way a higher level than everyone in the Big 12. I'm going to give you a big spoiler alert, Santiago. Do not be expecting, unless something happens, anyone but Texas or Oklahoma to be playing for Big 12 championships in the near future, okay?
Wow.
It's probably going to be Texas and Oklahoma. Their recruiting level is just way higher. And then the same, Clemson is just Clemson. I think they're going to always be in that 5 to 10 range as far as talent, but they keep people around. They recruit the quarterback position extremely well. They recruit the defensive line and the wide receivers positions extremely well. They have an amazing culture. They're, as far as I can see, they're going to just have more talented roster than everyone except for maybe Florida State in the ACC. They're going to be winning the ACC. They're going to develop players, and they're going to consistently be a threat to be in the college football playoffs. And when they have an elite quarterback that can win the national championship, expect Clemson. That's just what the roster looks like. Now, I will say, if they get upset this year, it's going to be because they lost some defensive talent.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on that.
I will.
If Clemson gets upset, if they get upset by A&M, Texas A&M, they play them in the thing, that's possible, or get upset by possibly someone in the ACC. It's because their talent took a little dip, but that would be the reason. Texas A&M is recruiting well. Jimbo Fisher started well there. There is only one problem. They're in the SEC, and you're competing against Alabama, Georgia, LSU.
Tough.
So they have their talent is good, but because they play Clemson this year, I believe they have to play LSU. I believe they have to play Alabama. I think Texas A&M is a team that's they're on the rise, but they need to be cautiously optimistic. I still think they don't have as much talent on the roster as like an Alabama, or maybe even as Clemson quite yet. So they'll be better, but they could still honestly only be 8-4 this year. But don't freak out. Relax.
I'm not freaking out yet.
Penn. No,
Penn State number 14. Wow.
No, Penn State's 11.
Oh yeah, it is number 11. Looking at the wrong list. Sorry. Yeah.
Look at the metric. The reason why, you're right. You're looking at the average one. They were 14, but the thing is, the reason why they got a bump is because they actually have 4 5-stars, and they also have 13 top 100 players. So they got a bump because their last few recruiting classes have been very good. They had a number 6 class in 2018. They had, I think it was 13 or 12 last year, but it wasn't as many guys, but it was a bump. They have had attrition issues. They lost 5 4-stars due to transfer. So there's, let's see let's see how that affects them. I think they're a team that will be there in the Big 10. Now, the only thing is they lost their starting quarterback. A lot of their talent is young. I don't know what will happen to them next year. They've also lost a couple games the last couple of years that they shouldn't have. They lost Michigan State 2 years in a row. And that's been kind of funny. They didn't play great in the bowl game against Kentucky. I don't know. We'll see, but there's a talent there on Penn State's roster. Notre Dame, I'm looking at Notre Dame over the years, and this is what I'm going to tell you. They get quite a few blue chip talent. They're consistently in that 10 to 15 range, but you saw what happened to them against Clemson in the college football playoffs, correct?
Yeah.
You saw what happened to them to Alabama 5 years ago, and I know why it's happening. Number one, they're not really getting they're not getting 5 stars. They only have 1 5-star on the roster, and they haven't had very many 5 stars over the last decade on the roster. They also are not getting top 100 guys really at like positions like wide receiver, running back, even quarterback. And you saw that. They don't really have amazing playmakers. Most of their best players are on the offensive line, defensive line, and linebacker. And so missing out on elite playmakers, not really landing overall 5-star, like can't-miss prospects, they're kind of stuck in there. And what I can see is I think Notre Dame can compete to make New Year's 6 games. I think on some years they can compete to maybe make the college football playoffs, but I don't think they quite have the roster to play for the national title. They just are not as talented as Notre Dame. They're not as talented as Alabama, as the Georgia, or even as Clemson. So that's the problem Notre Dame has. But that being said, they're going to land at about number 12. And that's where they've been. That's kind of where they've been. You go year after year, Notre Dame's kind of in that 10 to 15 range. Florida's number 13, and Florida actually has a roster a lot like Notre Dame right now. No 5 stars, 12 top 100 players, and Dan Mullen's a great coach. He's one of the best coaches in college football. That being said, Ryan, Chris, I hope you're listening. I don't think they have the talent right now to compete with Georgia.
Ooh, you heard it here first.
Well, there's 14 5-stars on Georgia's roster. There's 0 on Florida.
Georgia's going to dominate the SEC East, for a while now.
Tell Florida. The thing is, he's such a great coach. I think he's a better coach than Kirby Smart. If you put Kirby Smart's talent on Florida, Florida would be, I think, winning. I think Florida could be winning the national title. Yeah, definitely. But I just don't think the talent's quite there. So if he needs to probably up the talent level a little bit, and he had a good class this year, number 8 class, but he didn't line the 5-star. He did not line the 5-star. He landed some top 100 guys. He's getting better, but they're sitting at 13. Number 14, Auburn. And if you look at the average ranking per year, Auburn was 9. So average ranking was 9, but when I did my points, they landed at 14. You're like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I'm actually that right now. I mean, they should be top 10.
Bad attrition.
Wow.
They had I think 3 or 4 top 100 guys transfer out. They had a 5-star transfer out. They have had bad attrition. Part of the reason the program's kind of had some issues, and that's why Gus Malzahn's on the hot seat. And because of that, it's been affected. And they lost a 5-star on signing day. George Pickens, a longtime commit, flipped to Georgia. So I think Auburn is someone that a little bit of a drop off in talent. And if Malzahn can't get that turned around this year, if he's not able to maybe get some more talent in there, they still have a talented roster, but more talent in there, keep them around. And if he has another subpar year, I'd look for Malzahn to be shown the door. Tennessee at number 15, and really what got them to there was that big time kind of like signing day where they got a top 100 player and a 5-star. You take those 2 guys out, Tennessee probably would have landed behind Miami.
Wow.
So a big signing day really helped that roster out. 2 big-time players, 2 big-time blue chippers. So Tennessee, I think, is a team that has some young talent. Jeremy Pruitt has done some good things. Number 16 is Michigan. And I'm going to call attention to this. They were number 8 in the team talent composite last year. So you're like, number 8 to number 16, that's a drop-off.
It was before the Harbaugh years. That's what happened.
Huh?
before the Harbaugh years, they probably had a bad recruiting time.
No, not necessarily. No, that's not true.
Okay.
No. I would say more than anything, what's going to cause a drop-off, they had two of their highest-rated players go to the NFL draft. Rashawn Gary, a 5-star, the number 1 rated prospect in 2016, 5-star NFL draft. Number 2, David Long, cornerback, went to the NFL draft. They also had the transfer of former 5-star Aubrey Solomon and former top 100 linebacker, I forgot his Singletary, whatever. I forgot his first name. He transferred. So attrition has attributed to a drop-off for Michigan. And they brought some players in, but I wouldn't say their 2018 class was number 22, and they did not land one top 100 player. They did not land, obviously, one 5-star. So a little drop-off in recruiting and some attrition, either NFL draft or transfer. Michigan actually dropped. So when people are saying, why can't Michigan beat Ohio State? Michigan's not as good on paper as Ohio State. And they're not going to be near as good this year.
Well, look at the recruiting metrics. That's why.
No, yeah. Top 100 players, Ohio State is 31, Michigan is 10. 5-stars, Ohio State is 13, Michigan is 4. So if people wonder, why can't they beat Ohio State? Urban Meyer is Jim Harbaugh's daddy. Well, he kind of is his daddy because he has more talent.
Yeah.
Ohio State will be a daddy too. They're more talented. Ohio State has more talent on their team right now. For Michigan to catch Ohio State, they got to get more talent. Okay. Number 17.
Oof.
Number 17, Oregon.
Quack, quack.
Not biased here. I'm just going to give
Be
you
objective,
the real
Tyler.
truth.
Be objective.
Okay. First of all, they're number 2 in Ohio in the Pac-12, and I think they're clearly the second most talented roster in the Pac-12. They have 10 top 100 guys. They have a 5-star. They've had an average recruiting ranking that's landed 17 over the last 5 years. And then another thing is Oregon, the talent increase. If you broke it down in something else, 25% of their team in the first year of Willie Taggart was blue chippers. They had, I think, 6 top 100 players. Last year, they had 5 top 100 players. 29% of the roster was blue chippers. This upcoming season, they'll have 36% of the roster being blue chippers. They'll have 10 top 100 players. They'll have 1 5-star. They have increased their talent on their roster dramatically over the last 3 years. It's been a very good. Willie Taggart started off with the very good recruiting, and Mario Cristobal has continued it. Oregon had really, their talent had really gotten bad. Whether it had been not signing great classes and bad attrition, their 2015 class signed 7 blue chippers. Every single one transferred.
Wow.
Every single person, including the 5-star Kenton Kamatuli. Every single player transferred from that team. So their ability to bring in talent, not have it transfer out, is amazing. And the team talent composite last year, they were number 25. I expect them to go all the way up to about number 17 this year. So probably the most dramatic increase in talent maybe of anyone in college football. And I'm not saying that. I mean, look at the numbers. Don't
lie. This is not Tyler because he's a Duck fan, unofficially.
No, I'm going to give credit to Willie Taggart. I don't want to give him any credit. But anyway, and then Mario Cristobal.
I love Mario Cristobal. He came from Miami.
They have recruited their butts off.
They did, man.
They brought a team that was 3rd tier in talent.
Which I think that's what's going to happen to Miami. Like I think these next few years, Manny Diaz is going to pull a Mario Cristobal.
Well, I tell you what, if he does that, because the number 18 is Miami, I would say Miami's in the tier 2 kind of talent. So Miami's not starting at the deficit of Oregon. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Oregon was down there in Nebraska's level.
Wow.
Oregon was like 3rd tier talent, like 3 steps below the top tier.
Yeah, which
and
Oregon,
now
keep in mind, Oregon has it very difficult. You know?
Yeah. What?
Because they're out there at the Pacific Northwest you were talking about. It's not that easy to get there.
Yeah. But the good news is like they're in the Pac-12. They have the second most talented roster in the Pac-12. They bring back one of the best quarterbacks in college football, one of the best offensive lines, most experienced offensive lines in the Pac-12. And so there's a reason for optimism. When people are saying, why is Oregon's, whether it be recruiting or the people they're even bringing back from that they've developed, Oregon has a very talented roster. I would say the second best talented roster. And the number one is USC, and they can't get their crap together.
I don't understand how USC is still up there. But anyways, they'll probably head down really quick.
They have talent because they have the talent. They're up there because of the talent. Anyways, and then Stanford, Washington, UCLA. If you want Stanford's 19, Washington's 20, UCLA's 21. If you want my opinion, though, I think Washington is more talented than them.
Yeah.
I think Washington's roster is completely full. They have all 85 scholarships. They also have the most consistent ratio of blue chippers on the roster. I think Washington actually is pretty close to Oregon. I don't like Washington, but that's fact. I actually think Stanford and UCLA, they're rated higher on here because they've signed some blue chippers. They've signed some top 100 guys, but they also have some depth issues. I think UCLA is probably going to be about -5 to 10 in allotted scholarships, meaning they'll probably come in with 75 to 80 guys, which is not great depth. So I would expect UCLA to be a little lower than what they're even rated on here. And then
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I don't see is Washington State at all.
Oh, they're not even close. Oh, dude, they're not even close.
I know.
This is recruiting. Oh, if they were on, they're number 40. They're not even close. No, it's amazing what Mike Leach does. When it comes to recruiting rankings, he's not even in the vicinity. He has one 4-star. He has one 4-star or something on his roster.
That's
it's ridiculous.
The best you can get.
No, it's crazy. No. I mean, there's teams that are not in here that do well. Wisconsin. Look at all the great teams Wisconsin has.
Right.
And Wisconsin's never in the top 25.
Wow.
They're never in the top 25. North Carolina State's had some good teams. They're not in the top 25. UCF, they're not a Power 5, but they're not even close. They're probably in the 50s. So you can win, but the thing is, numbers don't lie.
Yeah, man.
In the 5 years of the college football playoff, not one team, listen to this, not one team that's not had top 25 talent has made the college football playoff. Not one.
It's a reflection. I see it.
So you have to have top 25 talent to really make the college football playoff. So all these teams here, I think, are given a fighting chance. Now, the thing is, obviously, Nebraska at number 25 versus number 1 Alabama, there's still a massive talent difference.
Yeah. They're going deep.
There just is.
Yeah.
So, and Nebraska's a team that, Frost is doing good. But I think he's another 1 or 2 recruiting classes to really being able to compete. At the end of the day, I think if Nebraska plays Ohio State, if Ohio State has to play a bad game for Nebraska to beat them, because they're just better. They just have more talented players. So, yeah, man.
Wow,
I think that's just time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good list. This is very comprehensive.
Yeah, and I hope people got out of it. People, maybe no one cares.
Yeah,
but
like I said, guys, it doesn't matter what big school you see. All that is a lot of hard work. I mean, this takes years. I mean, they go into the high schools, they go into the farm, system, they go into the ghetto area. They look at these players very closely. This is the future of their school. Yep. It's just, you can have a great coach, but where's the recruiting department? Where they're at?
Yeah, and that's what it is. I mean, I think you can do, as the old saying goes, X's and O's is like the ability to play call, but they said you can only X and O so much if you don't have the Jimmies and the Joes. You have to have the players.
You got to.
You have some in Alabama. Do I think Nick Saban's a good coach? Yes. I mean, X's and O's, he can game plan. But what makes Vic Saban so good is he's just a tremendous recruiter. And he's able to utilize that talent. And I think, and anytime you see someone have great recruiting classes, a la Clay Helton of USC, yet is finishing 5-7. I mean, shame on you.
Yeah.
You have the guys to compete in the Pac-12, which is arguably one of the weakest conferences in the Power 5. So you're in one of the weakest conferences, and you're finishing 5-7, like number 4 in the Pac-12 South. You need to be fired. And that was even like Jim Mora at UCLA. You know, Jim Mora, his classes, he was landing in the top 15 for UCLA. He had talent in the, like, he was there most of the time. His talent was in the top 15, top 20. But they were finishing like 5-7, 6-6. You're fired. So sometimes you're like, man, why do they fire some of these coaches so fast? Why do they fire them after 2 years? Why do they fire them after 3 years? Because they are recruiting and they're not winning.
Wow, it's a lot
they are
going
recruiting.
on in college football.
So if you're recruiting, you need to win. That's the fact. If you're recruiting at a high level, you should win. Because eventually, if you don't win, you will start not recruiting well. Because people will see that, hey, my buddy George, a 5-star, went to USC, and his team sucks, and he's not playing that well. And he was like the man in high school. He was one of the best players in the country. And kids start seeing that, and they're like, I don't want to go there because I will not have my talents utilized good. They start seeing that.
Right.
That's what happened with USC this year. The kids in Southern California weren't going there because they're like, dude, all my buddies were 5-stars, and they went there, and they're not even playing, or they're transferring, or they're playing like crap.
Or the coaches are horrible.
What gives? Yeah, so like, if you're recruiting at a high level, you need to win, and if you don't win, you get fired. You bring someone else who can utilize that talent. So let's say they fired Clay Helton. They then hire whoever. I don't know who they hire. They hire Mike Leach. They fire Clay. Mike Leach, with a coach who has won, who's won 10+ games 3 years in a row, who's with talent that's not even in the top 40.
Yeah, winning with less. I like that. I give him a lot of respect.
Imagine what he would do at USC with top 5 talent.
Oh, man. Which I'm surprised they haven't hired him anywhere else.
No. So, yeah, I mean, he's kind of hard to deal with, I heard. But the moral of the story is, like, you're going to get good people. It's USC. It's a storied program. You get more talent than almost anyone else in college football. USC could get a good coach in there.
Now,
he's playing with, like...
Now, like, for scouts, is there, like, big name scouts that get paid a lot of money that you know of in the industry, or is it, like, not really a big deal?
Oh, you mean the recruiting analyst?
Yeah, like is there like this one guy that knows everyone that he's probably getting paid a whole lot of money?
Well, I don't know. I honestly would have to ask them if they know a lot of money. But no, there's some huge. Yeah. Like Steve Wiltfong, he's the recruiting director for 247. Barton Simmons, he's the head of something for 247. Greg Biggins, who's the head of West Coast recruiting for 247. I mean, they know everyone. They know every recruit. They're the main ones who rank the recruits.
Miami hired a recruiter recently. It was like a big name, wasn't it?
They did.
I heard something, but don't quote me on that. We'll definitely confirm that later on the sports.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways,
I can't. I wish I could answer that.
No,
question.
It's okay.
But yeah, there's a breakdown. Just kind of what to see. I hate to be a bearer of bad news, folks. Alabama's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
they're more talented than everyone else, so they're not going anywhere. Ohio State, I don't think is going anywhere. Georgia probably won't be going anywhere. So just continue to look at that. And you know what? If Ed Orgeron, Clay Helton, and Willie Taggart get fired, they should. No, I mean, meaning like if they're finishing 6-6, they need to be fired because they have way too much talent in the roster. And keep an eye out on Oregon. Keep an eye out on Texas A&M
and Miami.
Keep an eye out on Miami. Keep an eye out on Tennessee. Those teams have added some good talent.
Yeah,
I think they have some pretty solid coaches in place. The problem with the SEC is there are so many talented teams that even though you have a lot of talent, it's maybe not enough. And that'd be like Florida. If Dan Mullen finishes 9-3 next year, if Dan Mullen finishes 10-2 the year after, I don't want to hear people saying, "Man, Dan Mullen's not as good as he should be." Honestly, he's finishing where he should with the talent he has on the roster.
Numbers don't lie. I'm seeing it. Wow, this is a clear. I mean, you clean my glasses better now after today.
Well, because you could start thinking because remember back in the day, you were asking me last year. Was it just remember when I said
when I said
not going to make college, and you're like, you need to have a better attitude than that. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the roster, it's not talented enough.
I was wrong, but now I have more clarity.
But
why these teams are not doing well, or why they're doing well.
That being said, now Oregon now this year you have a little better argument. They have the second most talented roster in the Pac-12. USC's not in a good place. They're probably going to be a little more talented than everyone they play against. So Oregon this year have a pretty tough schedule, but they do have enough talent that if they can play up to that level, they could make college football playoff. Do I think they'll win the playoff? No, I don't. They're not as talented as Alabama. They're not as talented as Ohio State. They're not even as talented as Clemson. But that being said, they do have the talent to win the Pac-12. And if they're able to go undefeated, they would get into the college football playoff. So, and then another one to watch out for is Notre Dame. They have to get better guys. Otherwise, Notre Dame's people are gonna be like, why does Notre Dame get their ass kicked sorry.
No, it's okay.
Why does Notre Dame get their butt kicked every year? It's because they're not quite getting enough, especially at the skill positions. And you saw that. Remember when you saw that game where the guys weren't getting open? They couldn't get open against Clemson. And you know what? They're not recruiting good enough. They're not recruiting well enough at the skill position. So I guess hopefully that just kind of gave a...
No, this is a very more clarity. Teams have to do homework. They got to go into the offseason. They got to get their players. They just cannot magically, have the players come in. No, it takes work and grind work. And Tyler, thank you very much. And you guys could go on the sportscast.net. You can see all his articles and all his stats. He did this with detail. And of course, the sportscast.net. Tyler, we're almost out of time. Ready for some game predictions?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go Michigan versus Minnesota, college basketball.
Michigan.
Pepperdine versus Gonzaga.
Pepperdine.
Okay. By the way, not just college football.
Wait. My goodness. Sorry, Gonzaga. I was looking at something.
Pepperdine is like a private school in California, right?
No. I know Pepperdine is in Malibu, California. No, it's Gonzaga. No, Gonzaga wins that game.
Yeah, Gonzaga's
ranked.
I was
kidding.
Yeah.
No. Pepperdine's not even that good. It's Gonzaga. I'm kidding. I was doping off.
And also, college basketball also has their recruitment rankings as well. So they also go through the whole spiel with college football. I don't know which one's harder, but...
Well, I mean, I don't really follow college basketball like I do, because it's not near as intensive. You only sign 3-4 guys a class. I will watch when the top guys, when the top teams do it. Pretty much, I'm going to give you a huge spoiler alert. Pretty much every single year, the top classes are Kentucky, Duke, Arizona. Gonzaga had a pretty good class Gonzaga actually had pretty good classes last year. Oregon's had some good classes.
Yeah.
And Florida will be up there and stuff. UConn not anymore. UConn used to be, but they're not that good anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's a little bit less rigorous as college football, but hey, they got to do their homework.
Villanova, sorry.
Yeah, Villanova's another one. And the random question of the week: what's the most lovable pet? Cat, horse, rabbit, or the dog?
I mean, a dog.
Okay. Dog is the most lovable pet. Can a horse be a pet?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah.
You're really rich.
Tons do have horses. Yeah, tons do have horses.
Tyler, how can people reach you and find your articles online?
Well, yeah, on this one, hold on, make sure I get it correct. it's Tyler Turner. Hold on, of the Sportscast.
Yes.
Tyler Turner of the Sportscast, because I created a new handle to do with this, so I could just do sports related stuff. My other handle has politics. So this one's just sports related, and yeah, keep an eye out. See me talk about recruiting, whatever. And I'm going to move into other stuff. I'm probably a little older recruiting for a while. So,
yeah, TurnerCast is your handle. Actually,
what do you say?
Your Twitter handle is it's TurnerCast.
Oh, TurnerCast.
Yeah, that's the new one. I have to update it on the video here. But yeah, TurnerCast. Okay. Follow him for all the updates, articles, and of course you can follow us at thesportscast.net. Follow our Twitter. We have some game updates. We have our contributors that for Pacific games like last night. We had Ryan Krista covering the UNC and Duke game. And then, of course, college football. We could have you, go over, Oregon versus Oregon State or something like that. So
yep.
We'll
I'd love to do that one.
Yeah, that one's a rivalry, but usually it's a blowout in recent times.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. and just quickly, it's not going to be getting any closer soon. I think Oregon State's class was rated number 68 this year.
Oh wow! Well, they're still in the top 100,
yeah.
But that's pretty low.
The talent is really different.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm actually reading the Shoe Dog book, the founder of Nike, and he talks a lot about Oregon because he's from there. So.
Yep. Phil Knight.
Yeah, Phil Knight. He's actually a runner guy. I don't think he likes football, but I heard he prefers running and track and field.
No, he loves football. But yeah, he ran track for Oregon. That's why Oregon has the best track program in America.
Yeah.
But no, he loves football too.
Plus,
I mean, let me give you a little thing. Oregon is where they are today because of Phil Knight.
Yeah.
He has donated billions of dollars to Oregon. So the reason why their facilities are so nice, the reason why they have all the crazy good uniforms is because of Phil Knight. If you took away Phil Knight from Oregon, they would not be. Did you wonder how Oregon went? Do you wonder how Oregon went from being a no-name to all of a sudden winning Pac-12 titles and going to national titles?
It would have to be Nike.
It was Phil Knight for sure.
And maybe partly Michael Jordan. I'm kidding.
It was Phil Knight. Yeah, Michael Jordan. You think Michael Jordan, but yeah, Phil Knight. He is the reason for Oregon's success, and they should be very grateful to him.
Tyler Turner, I appreciate you coming on to the Sportscast.
I did.